As we shift our focus over to the grain markets, it's been another busy week in the markets with several factors impacting the trade. South American weather and the spread of avian flu are just a couple of those big factors that the traders have been watching. To break down the latest market news, we caught up with Doug Simon from Tredas. Doug began by sharing an update on the South American crop harvest.
Well, they've been dry, and the forecasts into February are still warmish dries. Today, there's a little more prospect for moisture in Argentina and Brazil, which would help their crops finish there. I think, harvest, we were talking earlier, 26% versus about 16% on the soybeans, and the corn's about 29% harvested, versus 21% typically. They've already started to plant their safrinha crop, which is their second crop of corn in Brazil. So they're like at 20 to 47%, kind of in that mid-Mato Grosso, kind of mid-south area of their country. So that's starting to take place, but it's still dry. But if they're in that 2-week forecast, there is some rain projected to come in, which should help them a little bit.
So we're looking at about 26% of the crop harvested so far. The reports we're getting, not a great crop, and that's being seen on the U.S. soybean prices, right?
Correct. That's what's pushing those higher, and yields are not as good as what they're expecting, down 30 to 40% from last year. Big question is going to be if we get some of these rains, are they going to help them late, like the U.S. crop benefited last year from some late rains in August, before harvest started here. Brazil, Argentina, they're more north-south than their, kind of production areas, where the U.S. is more east-west. So there's potential, there's different growing areas there, and they may benefit from some of these rains. And obviously their second crop, that safrinha crop, the rain, they've actually had heavy rains, in kind of the northern part, or kind of north, where they're going to plant some of that second crop too. So that, crop should be, should be in fairly decent shape. I think they're worried about some of those southern areas there that could be where they'll plant that second crop, but that rain would help them as well. So we'll see what happens. And that's their bigger crop. Even though it's their second crop, their second corn crop, or the safrinha crop, is really their big one.
A producer reached out with a question this week. They wanted to know, with all this volatility in the market, what are some of the best ways to protect yourself on the board?
People keep asking, what's the direction of prices? Where's it going to end up? It's impossible to predict those prices. So I think you have to have a strategy in mind more than price prediction. So you think of seasonally, we like to sell corn in the spring, starting out, kind of January through June. And beans, we tend to focus more April through May. Like the average prices, I think we're doing the crop insurance prices right now. So they're like $5.83 and 3/4 on these corn, and $14.19 is the average price on the beans. You could look at like a $5.91 put on the futures were $5.91 earlier today, but if you looked at that point, like a $5.80 put, 16 cents using a May short-dated put. You could put a floor underneath your crop for 16 cents to get you all the way out into the end of April before you have to make a decision on what you're going to do there. You could also do something on the soybeans, for example, kind of the same idea. It'd be doing like a $14 put, because the board's at $14.47. I looked at them this morning, and you can spend 30 cents on that. So there's some ways you can at least put a floor underneath it, but not cap it out. Now you could go up and get closer to the money, because those are a little further out of the money, but you could do $14.40 puts on the beans, 55 cents, and a $15.40 call for 23. That's a net of 32 cents, and you could put that put under there, under the corn at $5.90. It's a little more costly. It's 21 cents, but it gets your floor up there higher. So those are pretty attractive, because when you look at where we're going to go into the summer, and who knows what that weather's going to be, and prices could be higher there as well if we carry on with a similar pattern of what we've had in 2 years in Brazil now. And if that carries into the U.S., we could have lessened crops because of the production and less fertilizer applied and all that kind of stuff. But I think that would give you a floor. I mean, some people just hedge. I've had people that are really like the prices we have right now relative to our break-evens, and we're hedging. And if you want to have some upside, and we've done that in the past, where you could, instead of buying that put, you could come in and buy a call for 15 cents. You could do something that's just slightly out of the money, and buy do those May calls as well to keep some flexibility.
The overarching message is there is some options, pun intended, out there for producers when it comes to locking in those prices and managing this volatile market.
That is correct. That is absolutely correct. But I think if you look at the seasonal patterns on corn, like the average prices over the December contract over the last 5 years, we've had opportunities there, in the kind of March, kind of May time frame. Looking at the bean side of it, what the highs on those things were put in there. we had some highs put in earlier in the year than the corn has. Historically, the beans, we tend to like start selling them later, but I think there's some opportunities now because the prices are so good relative to our break evens. And I think we have to remember too is we don't have a PLC floor underneath our crop right now. I mean, that's a long ways away. So we're standing completely open. I think we really need to think about risk management. And as you go through the year, you're gonna have to be getting, some type of floor. It's either hedged or get a put underneath it or hedge derived. But I also want to stay open on cash because if we do have a little bit shorter crop this year, our basis levels are going to get pretty crazy.